My name is Eddie C, and welcome to my positive podcast. I'll bring you positive stories of people from all walks of life because everyone has a story to tell. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to MPP, my positive podcast, and I'm your host, Eddie C. Well, I know it's been quite a while since you've heard from me. I've been quite occupied lately with a lot of music projects that I'm involved in. But nevertheless, I'm back, and I've got some great guests that are going to be coming to you in the next few months. Also, please visit the website, mypositivepodcast.com, and look at the information about becoming a Patreon and a positivist. There are different levels that you can support the show, and that makes it a lot easier for us in the future to bring you also more guests and give you some extra material, and especially in the coming year. Well, let's get back to the subject for this episode, which is going to be about energy, but not just any energy, spiritual energy, and how you can feel that. And my next guest is going to tell you a lot about it. So if you're curious in her story, sit back, relax, and stay positive. My name is Eddie C, and you're listening to My Positive Podcast. Well, ladies and gentlemen, my next guest for this new season, and my first guest actually for the new season, is a young lady that she's actually the daughter of a very good friend of mine and living here in Europe, and he's that I work with. He's also been on one of our shows, and we spoke to each other recently about coming on the show. She's a very talented person with a lot of spiritual ideas. She's also as a spiritual relationship coach. She likes to rollerblade, she likes swimming, and she loves karaoke. Well, couldn't be far from the apple, as to say, the apple that falls off the tree, because her dad is very much into music as well. Please welcome my next guest, Miss Leel-Össy Pritchett. How are you doing, Lucy?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to have you on the show. Very honored. And you got your dad's smile. That's for sure.
Yeah. I've heard that.
Yeah. So can you tell my listeners a little bit about yourself, your background, how where you're from, and how, you know, and sort of like update us up all the way up until now to what you're doing at the moment.
Sure. Originally I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio, but I currently live in Maryland, about an hour outside of DC. Mm-hmm. Different travels got me to this location, but that's probably not what you're looking for.
Well, so, you never know. I mean, this is a podcast about, you know, positivity and how people got to where they're being now, you know, so it's where you can always tell us a little bit about it if you feel like it, you know.
Yeah, I mean, sure, I can go into that. I mean, I believe in the law of attraction and, setting your intentions about your life to create the life that you desire to have. So at one point I had this idea, my dad lives in Belgium. And so I had this idea that it would be awesome to live in a different country for 6 months. And I thought it might be Belgium originally.
Okay.
And so I had that idea. I had no idea how that was going to happen. I had a cat at the time. I didn't want to leave my cat behind, all of that stuff. And eventually, the guy who I was seeing moved to Japan, and I ended up traveling to Japan and living in Japan for 6 months. Well, it was actually longer than 6 months. It was a year, but it was awesome to just see a different culture, especially an Asian culture, because it's almost the exact opposite of the American culture. And so it was awesome.
So, okay, so you went to Japan. Did you go to Japan because of your friend, or did you go there basically because the curiosity of wanting to see Japan?
No, just because of my friend. I had no intention or idea that I would ever go to Japan. That just appeared.
Okay, he's American as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was his work related to being in Japan?
Yeah, it was work related.
Okay. All right. You went over to Japan. You enjoyed there. You stayed there for a while. And from time to time, I think we met each other. It's been almost 7 or 8 years ago when we met for the first time.
Yes.
David had a special afternoon where he did some of his poetry, and there was music with Jeff Wisdom. That was when we met for the first time. And your hair was a lot longer then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So, well, tell us a little bit about what you're doing now.
Okay. So, I mean, I can kind of start with my how I got started with all this, which was basically when I was really young. I actually have been able to see and sense energies my entire life. I remember as early as 3 years old and seeing energy, not knowing what to do with that. So I kind of hate to tell the story, but I did tell my dad. I was like, I'm seeing things. And he was like, oh, it's just your imagination. But that was before he kind of like woke up more. And um, so at the time I was scared. I was 3 years old. I didn't know what to do with that information that I was receiving. And so a part of the reason that I do this work is because of that, because I want to validate for other people that there are spiritual beings, there's an energy world out there, there's something larger than just this, material matter that we see.
That we see in front of us. Yeah.
Yeah, that there really is more than that. And so I want to validate that for people when they have these types of experiences of like this sort of beyond the physical, the metaphysical.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's part of the reason that I do this work. And then also, it took me a while because I was very sensitive. I felt energies, I sensed energies. And so like, I mean, it would kind of scare me. And so I also do this work to be able to now give tools and skills to other people so that they know how to manage when they're sensing the energies in whatever way they sense. I mean, you can sense the energies by seeing, hearing them, feeling them like tactilely, or like you might just get a sense, like, when you go into a certain place, like you get a sense of a feeling, like,
Yeah.
depending on where you're going.
The vibes that you gather.
Yeah. I mean, depending on where you're going, you might get like a really good positive feeling, or, you might sense something else and it could be scary. And so yeah, I try to teach that as well.
Would you consider yourself more or less an empath?
Yes, definitely. Definitely an empath, or highly sensitive person, which I did not realize until I actually got attuned to Reiki for the first time and started working with that teacher. Mm-hmm. And when I started working with that teacher, what I realized was I was picking up on so much. Like I didn't even really know who I was because I was picking up on everyone else's energies all the time.
Okay.
And so I was kind of carrying those energies with me. And it wasn't until I learned these skills and tools that I now teach that I was able to start to separate and like release some of those energies. I call myself, I'm a sponge. I just take it all in. And if I don't have the tools and the resources to then let it go, then I just, keep a hold of all of that. And then usually, and these are the people who I work with. So usually what I end up doing and the people who I work with do is you feel anxiety, overwhelm. You often get like really angry and you don't really know why. You just get suddenly you're angry and yelling at your kids or your husband or spouse or whoever. And that's not the type of person you want to be because you are so sensitive. So you feel all these feelings and you actually want to be loving and you want to be supportive, but then you don't really know how because you're taking in all this stuff all the time. Mm-hmm. And you lose who you are in your own energy. And so that's what I do most. And that's what I love to do in the work that I do, is to bring people back into their own energy and connect them back in to who they truly are. And then also to the, whatever you want to call it, the divine, God, something larger, the
universe.
universe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. Can you explain shortly? I mean, I know what an empath is, but maybe it would be nice for you to explain to my audience that don't know what exactly an empath is.
Yeah, an empath is someone basically who just senses a lot, who can feel. And oftentimes, I guess it's described as someone who can feel what other people are feeling, but is also someone who can feel, I mean, just like we were talking about already, the vibe of a place. And so it's someone who can feel the vibe of a place, but like can really feel it. And it's hard to separate. Like it's so right there for an empath that they know. Um, that is sometimes hard to concentrate on other things that are going on around you because you're so sensitive to, say, the vibe of a place, and then you're connecting with another person. And so you're connecting with them and feeling their emotions and maybe picking up on some of their thoughts or their, I don't know, I want to say like their frustration or agitations or sadness or whatever, which is a lot of times how this presents as we pick up on other people's sort of negative emotions. I mean, I said that in quotes because there aren't really negative emotions. Emotions are just emotions. But yeah, that's basically an empath. We just pick up on everything.
I know you're giving therapy and you, like you said, you're giving workshops with groups, but you also do like energy healing over the phone.
Yep.
How is that working considering today with all of the energy we have floating around us with our smartphones, with our computers, with our tablets, and to have this conversation with someone, for example, on the other side of the line, you're going actually through major energy fields to relate to that person. How is that as compared to working with somebody that you're face to face with?
I don't really think a whole lot about the cell phone, the energy. Like, yeah, it's there. It's always going to be there. Energy is energy. But so over the phone or over video, I just, tap into that particular person's energy. And that's it. Like, so I believe that everybody has a certain frequency or a certain wavelength that they put off. And, you can think about these things as maybe like a frequency of a color, for instance. Like when we look at frequencies, it could be a color, like also radio is a frequency, so it could be a sound. So every person puts off a certain energy.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically what I do via distance is just really tap into that person's energy. And that's my focus. That's like 100% on that person. Of course, washing away all of my own thoughts and things, but I have all the tools to know how to do all of that and to kind of put myself aside to know what's mine and what's theirs, and then to really tap into them. So all the other stuff going on around doesn't matter. I have done sessions with clients, both in person and over the phone. And I've had clients say it's different, but they like both. Like I think it's just the way that maybe I set it up, that I do it in person versus over the phone. Because over the phone, I usually just like jump in right away. In person, we interact and we talk about things first, and then I'll like have them get on the massage table, and then I start. And of course, there's touch. So of course, if there's consent, but I think, of course, touch adds a little bit of a different element to it because of the like biofeedback and the co-regulation that you get with your nervous system. But it's essentially the same.
When you mentioned something about using special tools to stay unstable with your center and solidify your boundaries so that you don't have to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders and can enjoy healthy relationships. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yeah. So the first tool that I always teach, and I would, share this with anyone, and I actually encourage when I teach my programs for even my clients to share this, is grounding. Grounding is essentially connecting with the earth. And what I find, especially with empaths or sensitive beings, is because we're taking so much in that, again, we kind of lose ourselves. And so what I see is if you understand auras and the energy field, is people actually come up and out of their bodies and try to escape all the things that they're feeling. But the thing is, you can't actually process through the energy and information you're receiving if you're not actually in your body, because you don't actually know, because you're not feeling everything in your body. And I also believe that we're here to experience this life. And if we're not in our bodies, we can't actually experience all the good that is happening. I'll just share, I know I'm kind of going off on a little tangent, but I'll just share recently, I had a huge transformation and suddenly all my senses came online, and I was able to be even more present in my life than I've ever been before. And I laugh at myself, but I literally have cried over eating food now because it is so delicious and amazing that I'm right there in the experience. And so like I said, the very first technique that I teach is grounding. And that is, like I said, connecting down into the earth and really getting your energy field back around your body so you can be present in the life that you're living, and you can make those choices to be more loving and compassionate and peaceful rather than, the anger, frustration, sadness, and all of that, and taking all of that on. And I also believe that grounding is one of the biggest questions I get asked is, how do we get protection? How can we have spiritual energy protection? And I believe one of those ways is actually being in our bodies by grounding. So that's one of I'm happy if you want me to lead you through a meditation to feel more grounded, I can do that. Besides that, another technique is really just to kind of separate your energies. So to send the energies back that are not yours, back to the source, and then to allow your personal energy, like I said, it's a wavelength, that's a frequency. So your personal frequency to come back to you so that you are filled back up with that energy that is naturally you. And I think that's another thing, clients come to me just feeling tired and exhausted. And I think it's just because we resist the energies that are in us that aren't ours. And we don't have enough of our own energy to then have the energy that we need to, focus on life.
Mm-hmm. So with your grounding, it's not just for example, which is what I do a lot, is like going outside, taking your shoes off and letting your feet sit in the soil or in the ground on the grass to recharge for an hour or so. Mm-hmm. It's more than that for you.
Yeah. You can do that, and that's great. It gets into the actual physical biomagnetic energy that you get naturally from the earth that we no longer really get because the soles of our shoes are rubber. And so we don't really get that energy naturally that way anymore. We don't walk the earth like we used to. Um, but no, this is an actual technique. I mean, you can think of, say, the very simple technique. Do you want me just to lead you through it?
Yeah, go right ahead. I'm sure my audience is also curious to hear about it.
Okay, yeah, sure. So, I'll just lead you. There's a couple different ways, and a couple different ways that I've learned. And of course, like if you take my course, I will teach you a more advanced version. But this one's really simple. If you want, just close your eyes or maybe look down. And of course, meditation, we always connect with our breath first. And honestly, that's what meditation is. It's just connecting and being aware of your breath. And so, if you want, go ahead and just start to sink your breath down into your belly.
Mm-hmm.
And on the inhale, your belly expands out. On the exhale, your belly comes back in. This also helps to calm your nervous system. And you're just focused on your breath, your belly expanding out on the inhale, belly coming back in on the exhale. One more deep breath into your belly. And then go ahead and bring your attention and awareness down to your feet. You're still going to take those deep breaths. But go ahead and start to feel your feet. Maybe you even want to because oftentimes your body isn't always on board with what you're feeling. So if you need to wiggle your toes or, lift your feet up a little bit to really feel them, you can do that. And I do recommend doing this without shoes on. And so maybe you even just bringing your attention and awareness to your feet, maybe you even start to feel a little bit of energy, maybe a little bit of tingling or some kind of sensation. And if you don't, that's totally fine too.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the balls of your feet, you're going to imagine that you have roots growing down, just like a tree has roots growing down. And they start to go down into the earth, through the floor, through the ground, all the way down, through all the layers of the earth. And the roots go down to the very center, the heart of the earth. And you can take a moment here at the heart of the earth. Maybe it's represented to you by a color or a sound. Maybe it's some kind of a crystal. However it's represented to you is fine, is valid. And so go ahead and just kind of soak in that nurturing, loving energy at the heart of the earth. Still keeping with your breath, still breathing. And then some golden, grounded earth energy. And it starts to rise back up those roots, just like a tree drinks in the water. You can drink in this golden, grounded energy, and it starts to rise up into those roots that you created, slowly coming up, back through all the layers of the earth, and starts to rise up into your feet. So you might start to feel your feet energized by this golden, grounded energy. And it can then rise up into your calves and shins, your knees, your thighs, letting your body start to sink down towards the earth, taking in all this nourishment that comes up into your hips, pelvis, abdomen. And then you can bring this energy up into your chest and arms, neck and head, but I usually kind of allow it to dissipate just a little bit lighter up in that area. And then just take a moment to rest and just feel how you're feeling. Well, I have a question for you. How do you feel after that?
Well, I actually practice this on a daily basis. So it's for
Awesome.
me. It's not for me. It's not for me new. I still have a couple of more questions I want to ask you. You mentioned that you're a self care fanatic. What are some of the things that you do for your self care?
Oh my gosh, I've been doing self-care forever. So, right now I do a lot of activity. So I go swimming often, like that's a big part of my self-care. I also do, I'm into Ayurveda. So it's a thing called Abhyanga, which is basically just a self oil massage. So I do that at least
Mm-hmm.
a couple times a week where I use different oils and then take a bath. I also meditate. I'm now meditating 30 minutes a day, twice a day, and also just cook really nutritious meals. So,
All right, and of course your yoga plays a big role in your life as
yeah.
well. I noticed, and you like karaoke.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have to after
So
living in
that's
Japan. It was a
okay.
requirement.
We live in a world today full of a lot of energy. There's a lot of things happening around. For example, AI, which seems to be a big phenomenon at the moment among people. What's your idea about AI? Do you see it as a threat? Do you see it as something that um, is we can take advantage of, or is it something that will eventually take advantage of us?
I haven't really thought much about it. I think it's just a useful tool. I don't see it as a threat. If I think into the idea of like I'm able to tap into this information, my intuition, like I believe that we have this basically group consciousness
Mm-hmm.
that we can tap into. So I think it's just kind of the same type of thing. AI is just tapping into our collective information and group consciousness in a different way. And that's basically what I do in my sessions.
So you don't see, for example, in the future, an AI robot, say maybe doing what you do now.
Sure, why not? But no, I think it's different. I mean, our brains are totally wired a different way, and an AI can't tap into love, right? Like that's something that us as humans can give.
Of course, they're busy now with all kind of physics, a combination of not only AI but with quantum physics, which is how the neutrons in the brain work, and they're busy trying to apply that in the future versions of AI.
Cool.
And well, yeah, but I mean, I'm always interested because you're from a younger generation that has to deal with that maybe much longer than me or your dad, and in the future. Um, okay, let
Mm.
me ask you this question: how would you approach the youth of today with all of the social media that we have around us, the fake news, the insecurity about creative work being done? Because let's look at the music industry. If you look at, for example, how music is being streamed today,
Mm.
musicians don't make hardly anything compared to what they did back in the days when there were records made. It's now all digital information we're getting.
Yeah.
What would you like to, let's say, leave behind or pass on to the generation behind you about how to approach life in general from a harmonious way?
I think all of this has, you have to come back to yourself. So yeah, we have all of this social media and information and everything. And honestly, I have to step away from all of that a lot of the time. Um, for me, I feel like it just ramps up my nervous system, and that doesn't feel good, right? And I also believe we're taking in way more information than we were ever intended to.
Mm-hmm.
And so, really finding those quiet moments and disconnecting and really coming back to ourselves. I believe that every answer that we need is within us, and we don't have to go out and find it anywhere. Like there's proof of this through multiple spiritual teachers and masters, and even those who are not. I mean, like who we don't consider, like Einstein, for instance, like was not considered a spiritual teacher. He's considered a scientist, but he got all that information from within him. So I think it's really just coming back to yourself, knowing who you are, and then expressing that uniqueness out into the world. Like that's your purpose in life. So just like I feel like this is my purpose in life, like this is the way that I grew up, and all the knowledge that I have attained has facilitated this into this is my purpose. There's nothing else I could imagine doing in the way that I express myself. So,
My very last question, if you had to choose between 3 words to describe your view at this moment, if you had to make a choice between 3 words, energy, passion, and love, which one would you choose?
love all the time, every time. Love is all there is. Love is all there is.
Well, on those words, I would love to thank you for coming on the show. Thanks for sharing also a little bit of your energy and good vibes with my audience and with me, of course. And I'm sure that the audience will have a lot on what you had to say. And this is actually our first time we had a chance to really talk to each other. We met some years ago, so I enjoyed that as well.
Yeah.
And well, I have your information. People can find you on your social media, of course, on My Positive Podcast, and on Facebook, they can find you. And you have your website, which is called betterbutterflies.com, www.betterbutterflies.com. So on those words, thank you so much. And a lot of love and great energy to you as well. As they would say, namaste.
Namaste.
And wishing you a fantastic future, and keep passing on that good energy.
Thank you.
Alrighty.
Thank you so much.
This is MPP, and I'm Eddie C. Well, I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Lucy. I know that I did, and it was a great opportunity to get to know her a little bit better and the work that she's doing. And I know her dad is very proud of her with things that she's doing. So let's touch on energy for a second. That's something which is all around us. We are not quite aware of it at times, but depending on how we express ourselves, how we explore the things that we do on our daily basis, that's all based on energy. Think about it for a second. If you look around and just the air, the way you wake up, your whole attitude over the day, you're going to express certain phases of energy to people and to others, and they're going to, of course, in return, spread their energy to you. And let's hope that it's all, for the most part, positive. And even when it's kind of negative, you can always switch that energy around by throwing out your positive energy to the other person to create a more positive energy between the two of you all, and find some kind of synergy together. Anyway, on those words, here's my quote. Energy. It begins within our thoughts and feelings. That flow of information we receive and give. All the everyday experiences of getting the best out of ourselves and sharing it with others. Knowing who we are and believing in the power of positive awareness and strength. The ultimate energy and the magic of love. Well, that's about it for this episode. But before I go, I'd like to thank my guest, Miss Lucy Pritchett, for coming on and sharing a bit about her life and how she feels and sees energy. And remember, energy is something that starts within you. What you give, you will receive. Until next time. You can find me on all platforms, Spotify, Android, and Apple. On Facebook, look for My Positive Podcast, and my website is mypositivepodcast.com. You can also contact me via my website or Facebook. A very special thanks to my technical producer, Iswan. This show is a production by Antwerp Podcast Service. My name is Eddie C., and this was MPP, My Positive Podcast. Tune in next time and stay positive.